is $120. Oil soon coming soon. We will try to address the predictions of estimates that oil will reach three-digit numbers by the end of 2017. Think about the basic supply/demand picture and oil company leverage, finance and financial oil derivatives along with a deep perspective on the possible trajectory of a role that everyone understands, mostly. Despite the technical nature of this debate, in 2018 it draws a globally demanding graph of $120 for oil using only two graphs of its own production, and then global production forecast is more obvious. Almost all analysts, including the EIA and the IEA, acknowledge that demand continues to grow steadily for the remainder of the decade and even a small economic downturn slows down the pace of growth, but not upside. Almost nobody believes that this will happen for the next 10 years for environmentalists praying for the end of carbon consumption. First of all, we realized that the blue product line that returned before the oil accident was steeper than the demand line, and that we have noticed the weaknesses and low barrel prices we have experienced. Low prices, as I mentioned by lightening the slope of the light blue line, caused the production increase to slow down. Obviously, if nothing else existed, we would see future demand. That is why some analysts are afraid of seeing three-digit oil prices or at least on a lower level for a much longer scenario. But most analysts acknowledge that sharp declines in capex budgets, not only among the devil producers, will continue to grow despite sharp declines in productivity this year and despite the adverse productivity and decline in cost. It should be noted that the media and, surprisingly, most analysts see how global oil is seen only through the prism of independent shale players in the United States. To me, that's the critical mistake they make. The latest rental results in the Gulf of Mexico, the problems in Brazil and the possible outcome of spending for all new Russian oil projects are just a few of the other huge gaps in global production that we are likely to see after 2016. Most analysts, including the EIA, are doing what they see when playing this production curve and how they see it playing. The EIA and other analysts argue when sharp drop in capacity will interrupt oil production and when and how steep this production drop will be. In any case, they argue that the fall in production is to be answered with a rally at oil prices. U.S. shale players are against spinning spears and for the most part we're rebuilding things that keep the barrel under $50 last year. In this scenario, production is never or at least very slowly balancing to meet demand. I see it very different. Even with the devil's low drilling costs and drilling but incomplete wells accumulation, the crazy increase in production achieved in 2012 to 2014 was not repeated in any way. Financing constraints and lack of quality among other causes. We will see the results of long-term projects from almost all other conventional and non-conventional sources that have not been financed over the past 2 years, and there will be no oil left for them. It is estimated that in 2013, oil companies will only have to spend at least $7 to $10 trillion by 2030 to keep pace with demand growth and the natural decline in existing wells. This has passed without giving a factor to the fall in exploration spending that has now taken place over the next 2 years. Virtually every oil company and state-responsible manufacturer has made significant investment cuts over the past 2 years, allowing the budget to go beyond its timeline. Starting from the end of 2016, you can see why we have a far more radical view of the decline, and at least until the mid-2018, when production begins to fund once again due to the violent passing of demand and supply lines, and the act of violence at an equal level in the price of oil. Financial markets will never waste time dragging prices even more quickly and steeply with a massive influx of speculative money.